8-year-old's heartwarming secret revealed. Grandma's unexpected journey to an incredible new life. In a cozy suburban neighborhood, 8-year-old Lily had a heart full of dreams as vast as the blue sky above. But lately, her laughter had dimmed, overshadowed by her beloved grandma Ruth's sorrow. Ruth, once vibrant and cheerful, now wore a mask of quiet sadness after losing her husband, a brave war veteran whose tales had once filled their home with pride and joy. The crackle of laughter and loving banter faded, leaving only the echoes of bygone days. One sunny afternoon, while sipping lemonade on the porch, Lily's ears perked up as she overheard a soft conversation between Grandma Ruth and their neighbor, Mrs. Thompson. Ruth, her voice trembling like the breeze, talked about unfulfilled dreams of traveling, of seeing the world, not just through pictures but through her own eyes. Each word hit Lily like a bolt of lightning, igniting a fierce love and determination deep within her. She wanted to help Grandma seize those dreams again. With a bright smile that could light up the darkest room, Lily put a plan into action. She gathered her cookie ingredients and started baking with all the passion a child can muster. The smell of fresh cookies wafted through the neighborhood, attracting curious neighbors like bees to honey. "Lemonade and cookies for sale," she shouted, her heart bursting with hope. But the road wasn't easy. Some neighbors sneered, scoffing that an 8-year-old could raise enough money to help her grandma travel. "What can she possibly do?" they murmured, allowing their skepticism to taint the air around her. But Lily's spirit shone brighter each time, fueled by her grandma's dreams and her own will to show those doubters what a determined child could achieve. "Few believe anything is possible," she told herself. Days turned into weeks, but instead of encouraging words, Lily was met with a heavy silence from Ruth. The weight of misunderstanding grew heavier when Ruth stumbled upon a note Lily had written, filled with plans and dreams for their adventures. Intuitively, Ruth thought Lily believed she couldn't reclaim her dreams alone, a misunderstanding that stung deeper than any ache. Hurt, Ruth withdrew, creating an invisible wall between them. They both wore smiles, yet the laughter felt like a distant memory, and the joy that once flourished in their home began to wither. In the background, the community began whispering about Lily's mission. They watched her sell cookies with unwavering resolve, admiring the little girl who dared to dream big. Just when her hope felt like it was slipping through her fingers, Ruth took a long look in the mirror, confronting her own fears. Perhaps the love of her granddaughter was the spark she needed. Could she still embrace the world beyond their little street? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As they stood on the edge of a new beginning, both Lily and Ruth yearned for understanding. Just then a flicker of hope shimmered between them, whispering of reconciliations and rediscoveries. Would Ruth's heart burst open and embrace the light once more? And could Lily's selfless love truly transform their lives, igniting a journey they had only dared to dream of? The world outside awaited, brimming with promise and adventure, each moment carrying the potential to mend broken bonds and awaken long-held dreams. The following day, the sun rose with a golden hue, igniting the sky in radiant shades of orange and pink. It was a beautiful morning, yet it felt subdued within the confines of Lily and Ruth's home. Ruth sat in her favorite armchair, the one that once cradled laughter and stories, now merely a shadow of its former self. The silence held a heavy weight, closing in around them both. Lily tiptoed into the living room, an excited gleam in her eyes. She had a plan and a new batch of cookies, still warm from the oven, tucked under her arm. "Grandma," she chirped, trying to break the spell of silence that had settled between them. "I made your favorite chocolate chip. They're perfect for a snack together." Ruth managed a thin smile, but her heart wasn't in it. She forced herself to sit up a little straighter, longing to connect with Lily again. Somewhere deep inside her, she felt the tiny flicker of the dream she had once held. She glanced at the cookies but felt an ache in her chest, like the sweet treats filled with warmth weren't enough to soothe the emptiness left behind. "Thank you, dear," Ruth murmured softly, the words feeling heavier than she intended. It was a small step, But Lily took it with both hands, her determination blaring like a beacon. Can we talk about our adventure? I have ideas. Lily's excitement twisted in her belly, bubbly and eager. She so desperately wanted to bridge the gap that had widened since the misunderstanding began. Ruth could see it in her granddaughter's sparkling eyes, that pulsating hope pouring outward. It reminded her of a time when dreams felt alive, traveling to places far beyond their quiet street, tasting new foods and seeing new faces. But fear gripped her heart, a chokehold that left her paralyzed. Sweetheart, I appreciate what you're doing, but maybe we should just focus on home for now. It was like a dagger to Lily's heart. She felt the fleeting moment of connection slip away, leaving her out in the cold. But Grandma, we can do anything together. Her voice wavered but held firm. We can see the Eiffel Tower or go to the Grand Canyon. I believe we can make it happen. Ruth's gaze flickered, her heart aching at the determination radiating from her granddaughter. Tears threatened to spill, blurring her vision. The weight of her grief clashed with the blossom of hope. Lily, but just then a loud knock interrupted them. It came from the front door. An unexpected sound that jarred them both from their emotional moment. With a hopeful heart, Lily dashed to the door, swinging it open to reveal Mrs. Thompson standing there, a bright smile on her face. Good morning, dear. I heard about your cookie sales and I came to buy some. Really? You'll buy cookies? Lily's eyes widened in surprise and glee. Mrs. Thompson knelt down to Lily's level, her voice warm and inviting. Of course. I've been hearing amazing things about your talent. Ruth watched as a small crowd began to gather outside, drawn by Mrs. Thompson's words and the tempting smell of cookies wafting through the air. Something shifted in her as she saw Lily beam, her spirit catching fire once more. Can I help you in the yard? Lily chirped, bubbling with excitement. And before Ruth could think twice, she found herself stepping outside, sitting with neighbors who admired their little girl's efforts. In that moment, joy bubbled within Ruth, surprising her as she responded to the warmth around her. Perhaps today was different. Could it be that together, with their community behind them, they could reignite the dreams that had long been buried? As laughter began to swirl back into their lives, Ruth's heart whispered a question. What if this was just the beginning of something wonderful? Would they dare to dream again, chasing adventures beyond their wildest imaginations? The sun climbed higher, pouring golden light onto the gathering outside. Ruth found herself seated on the porch steps, a soft breeze playing with her hair. She watched as Lily mingled with the neighbors, her laughter weaving through the air like sweet music. Mrs. Thompson held up a cookie, her eyes twinkling with delight. You've outdone yourself, Lily. This might just be the best cookie I've ever tasted. Her words rippled through the crowd, igniting applause and cheerful chatter. Ruth felt her heart swell, a warmth spreading through her that she hadn't felt in ages. As the cookie sales continued, Ruth listened to the stories shared among old friends. Tales from years past bounced around like rubber balls, echoing through the heart of the neighborhood. Grief felt lighter here, only a whisper behind the laughter, as they remembered joyful moments. The familiar faces reminded her of happiness before the stillness settled in their home. Then, unexpectedly, a thoughtful voice broke through the merriment. Remember the summer of '98 when we all went camping? The stars were incredible. Mr. Johnson, their neighbor across the street, pointed at the sky, and a few heads nodded in agreement. Ruth smiled, her heart stirring with memories of campfires, silly ghost stories, and stargazing with Lily's mother. Let us do something like that again, Lily exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with possibility. The idea clung to the air, becoming a vibrant thread of connection that pulled at Ruth's heartstrings. But how? Another neighbor questioned, casting a questioning glance at the sky. It's been years since we've all gotten together that way. We can start small. Lily jumped in, taking charge like a mini leader. What if we just gather here for a barbecue? Everyone can bring something and we can laugh like we used to. Her enthusiasm was contagious. Ruth felt a shift, a soft push against her fears. Could they really gather like that? Would it lead to new memories, reminding her that joy still existed? The idea of a community backyard barbecue seemed simple enough, but within it, Ruth glimpsed hope. Let us do it. Mrs. Thompson chimed in, clapping her hands. I'll bring my famous potato salad. The crowd erupted in joy, each member offering to contribute something special. Ruth sat back, a mixture of gratitude and disbelief filling her. This renewed connection felt like sunshine breaking through a clouded sky. For the first time in a long while, she dared to envision a future filled with laughter. A community that wasn't merely familiar, it felt supportive and alive. As the chatter unfolded, Ruth turned her gaze back to Lily, who was energetically telling a neighbor about recipes and cookie experiments. For a brief moment, it felt like everything might just be okay. Yet, as the hours rolled on and the plans solidified, a shadow flickered in Ruth's mind. What if she failed? What if the joy they were building shattered like fragile glass? Her heart trembled with the weight of possibility. Still, she found herself smiling, the warmth of the crowd enveloping her. It made her wonder what if they truly could craft new memories, pulling themselves from the past into something beautiful? With her heart racing, she whispered to herself, "Is this really the beginning of something wonderful?" As dusk settled, casting a golden glow over the neighborhood, Ruth held on to that question, knowing deep down that the next steps would demand courage. Would she dare to step forward? Would she help Lily turn dreams into reality, where adventure awaited them on the horizon? Ruth's hands trembled ever so slightly as she brushed back the loose strands of hair from her face. The golden hour had a way of lighting up the world, and for once, it felt like the warmth seeped into her very bones. It was almost as if the laughter from the gathering wrapped around her, shielding her from the nagging worries still lingering in the corners of her mind. Lily was caught in a whirlwind of excitement, her animated voice rising above the cheerful clamor. The barbecue seemed to be more than just a meal. It was a lifebuoy thrown into a sea of uncertainty. Ruth listened as Lily rattled off ideas. We could have games. And music. Mom loved music. She always brought her guitar. Each suggestion poured from her lips like a bubbling brook, invigorating everyone around. Ruth took a deep breath and let the joy seep in, but each time she felt herself relaxing, that shadow flickered again. What if we can't pull this off? What if no one shows up? The what-ifs warred painfully against the newly kindled what could best. Hey Ruth. Mrs. Thompson's voice, bright and chipper, snapped her back to the present. We'd love for you to make your famous coleslaw for the barbecue. It wouldn't be the same without it. Ruth blinked, her heart thudding in her chest. Why, haven't made it in years. The memories of frantically chopping vegetables while her daughter danced around the kitchen floated through her mind, filling her with a bittersweet nostalgia. Well, you better dust off that recipe then. Mrs. Thompson laughed, throwing an arm around Ruth's shoulder. The act felt like an embrace, a soft encouragement that told her she belonged. With a smile, Ruth nodded slowly. Maybe it was time to reclaim those recipes, those memories that she had boxed away. The weight on her heart felt lighter just thinking about it. All right, I'll bring it. Great. We'll make a feast. Lily cheered, her excitement infectious. For a moment, Ruth relished in the beautiful connection forming around her, a tapestry woven from laughter, history, and a renewed spirit of community. It felt like every person present had unknowingly wrapped their hopes and dreams around her, adding layers to her courage. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky with swirls of orange and pink. Ruth stood to grab a drink, the porch creaking gently beneath her. As she moved, her gaze fell upon the children playing nearby. They were running, laughing, and chasing each other as if unburdened by the shadows that sometimes clouded adult lives. It was a reminder of innocence, of the simple things that brought joy. Can I help, Grandma? Lily came up beside her, a twinkle in her eyes. The innocence and eagerness in her voice made Ruth's heart ache in the best way. Of course, sweet pea. Ruth beamed down at her, suddenly feeling a renewed sense of purpose. We'll make it special together. As they filled the pitcher with lemonade, Ruth found herself lost in the moment. Lily's hand splashed the liquid joyously, letting giggles escape her lips. For the first time in a long time, Ruth felt the tightness in her chest begin to loosen. Grandma, Lily suddenly spoke with a serious tone that caught Ruth off guard. Do you think Mom will be okay with all of this? The question struck Ruth like a bolt. Of course she would. Wouldn't she? The thought bubbled up, unsettling and sweet all the same. I know she'd want us to be happy, Lily, Ruth replied, fighting back a wave of emotion. She loved being with us, didn't she? Yes. Lily beamed brightly again. Then let us make it fun. Suddenly, exhilaration surged through Ruth, fanning out in her chest like fireworks. Was this indeed what the past few years had been leading up to? The chance to create again, to bring warmth back into their lives, made her heart swell as night began to embrace the neighborhood, and the first stars blinked down. Ruth realized that they were about to embark on a journey of rekindling joy, woven with the threads of memory. But in the back of her mind lingered the thought, what if she found more than joy? What if secrets from the past waited to resurface? In the most unexpected ways throughout this coming gathering, as the glow of evening began to settle over the neighborhood, Ruth couldn't help but feel a ripple of excitement course through her. The barbecue was more than just an event. It was an open door to memories, a chance for her and Lily to reforge their bonds. It was daunting yet thrilling. The shadows of the past still loomed large but felt slightly tethered to this new light. Lily's laughter mixed with the comforting scent of grilled burgers wafting from the backyard. Ruth watched as children chased fireflies, giggling and tumbling onto the grass, carefree like tides lapping against the shore. Ruth shifted her focus to Lily, who was now deep in conversation with other kids, their voices rising and falling in waves of joy. "Do you think we should make an extra batch of lemonade?" Ruth asked, hovering nearby. The pitcher had already seen 3 refills, and the chatter indicated that the thirst for more was rising. Lily turned to her, a slight frown creasing her brow. "Why not iced tea too? Mom always made the best iced tea." Her honesty stung, but in a way that was grounding. Ruth felt a flush of warmth in her cheeks. "Sure. Let us do that together," Ruth replied, forcing a smile as they moved toward the kitchen. The world around them faded, and the clutter of the past revisited her. She reached for the tea bags, her fingers brushing against where Lily's mother, Sarah, once kept them. The touch brought back a flood of memories, sun-drenched days spent chatting over kitchen counters, laughter spilling out like sugar from an open jar. "Grandma?" Lily interrupted her thoughts, her small voice imbued with curiosity. "Did Mom really always love music?" "Always," Ruth nodded, recalling those cherished moments where Sarah strummed her guitar for the family, her voice weaving itself through the fabric of their lives. "She would sing to you when you were a baby. You used to giggle." Lily beamed at the cherished memory, bouncing on her toes. "What was her favorite song?" Ruth leaned back against the counter, mulling over the question. There was one that stood out, a song that rang with freedom and hope. "I think it was You Are My Sunshine." It reminded her of you. "Bring it back, Grandma. Can we sing it at the barbecue?" The enthusiasm in her voice pulled Ruth from her reverie. "I suppose we could. I'll need to relearn it, but I'd like that," Ruth said, the notion filling her with warmth. Another thread woven back into the fabric of their lives. As they prepared the tea, Ruth sensed something stirring just beneath the surface, an energy she hadn't felt in ages. But alongside this joy was the shadow of their shared grief. Could memories of Sarah elevate their spirit? Would they transform the gathering into something beautiful? When they finally emerged from the kitchen with both pitchers full, the scene unfolding outside was a tapestry of laughter and camaraderie. Ruth filled her lungs with the sweet evening air and let it out slowly, her heart settling back into a rhythm of hope. "Ready?" she asked, glancing down at Lily, who nodded eagerly. They stepped outside, Ruth's heart pounding as she took in the community gathered around. Her neighbors, friends, and acquaintances joined together, creating an atmosphere that felt almost electric with love and support. Just when everything seemed right, a figure caught her eye in the distance, someone she hadn't expected to see. "David," Ruth whispered, eyes widening with disbelief. Lily glanced up, sensing the shift in her grandmother's demeanor. "Do you know him?" she asked. "Know him? That's her ex. I didn't think he would come." Ruth's voice trailed off, a whirlwind of emotion surging within her. How would he fit into this tapestry they were weaving? What old wounds would surface now? The warmth of the evening clashed with the chill of uncertainty, and Ruth felt as if she were standing on the precipice of something big. As David approached, Ruth's heart raced. Would this be a light bringing hope, or a storm uprooting what she had started to rebuild? With the evening shifting before her, Ruth clung to the pitcher in her hands, wondering what secrets from her past were about to resurface, and how they would rewrite the story. Ruth's breath hitched as David stepped closer, the crowd around her fading into a muted backdrop. Memories of laughter and warmth flickered with each beat of her heart. The man in front of her had been a part of her life once, but his absence had left scars, both in her heart and in her family. "Ruth," he said softly, his voice stirring a tidal wave of emotions. "It's been a long time." "Yeah," she managed, her voice barely above a whisper. The smile he wore felt familiar, and yet it felt strange to see it after all these years. Lily, oblivious to the heaviness of the moment, tugged at her grandmother's sleeve. "Can we go back to lemonade and tea, Grandma? I want to have a toast." "He's here to support the barbecue," Ruth thought, trying to steady her racing heart. "It's just an event." But David's light smile caught her off guard. Rekindling thoughts she thought she'd buried deep. "Is that Lily?" David asked, stepping forward to glance down at the girl, his eyes softening. "She has grown so much." "Yes, she has," Ruth replied, her voice firming up. "She is quite the little lady now." The pride in her voice felt like armor against the memories of their shared past. "Can I have some lemonade?" Lily interrupted again, her youthful exuberance infectious. David laughed softly, a sound that melted some of Ruth's apprehension. "Absolutely," he replied, his eyes sparkling at the child. "I'd love a glass too." As they moved back toward the table, Ruth felt the tension shift. The sounds of laughter and sizzling burgers hovered above them like a comforting blanket. David fell into step beside her, each stride echoing old rhythms that still resonated, even after years apart. "Are you well?" he asked, glancing sideways. There was sincerity in his voice, a gentleness she had missed. "I'm getting there," she replied cautiously. "It's a process." The silence that followed was charged, each word unspoken filled with unsaid apologies and profound losses. "I've thought of you both often," David admitted after a few beats. "Sarah too. It was a hard time for all of us." Ruth paused, placing the pitchers down on the table with a soft thud. "We've had to learn to live without her." It was a simple truth that felt like both a confession and a reminder of their separate paths. "Yeah," he nodded, emotion pooling in his eyes. "And every year I realize how much we've all missed her." Lily, oblivious to the gravity of their conversation, began a dance around them while singing off-key snippets of "You Are My Sunshine," completely immersed in the moment. Her laughter punctured the heaviness of the air, drawing the attention of nearby guests. The tension eased, if only for a bit, as laughter bubbled up around them. Ruth felt herself relax, reminded of how little things could still bring joy. As the group gradually transitioned from serving food to playful games, an ease settled into the evening. David stepped back, watching Lily race around with a smile on his face. It was a reminder of happier times, a flicker of warmth in the chill of uncertainty. But as Ruth watched David interact, a different kind of worry tugged at her heart. Would his presence change the course of their evening? Would it light up old wounds or spark new connections? "You should sing," David suggested, catching her eye. "That old song, the one about sunshine?" Lily's eyes lit up, excitement bubbling over. "Yes. Can we?" Ruth hesitated. Was it too soon for that? Could she look at David and sing the song that held so much history between them? "Maybe," she replied uncertainly as her heart began to race again, dancing between hope and apprehension. In that moment, filled with youthful laughter and the 2 pitchers of tea and lemonade, Ruth wondered if this could be the start of something new or simply a whisper of what they had lost. And as they gathered to share stories, laughter echoing against the twilight, Ruth's heart swelled with both love and uncertainty. What would tomorrow bring? Would she find the courage to embrace the past and weave it into something beautiful? With the music of the past in the air, the evening stood poised at a precipice of possibility, with both light and darkness dancing just out of reach. Little did she know, beneath the surface, something was stirring that would change everything. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the backyard, Ruth took a deep breath, the air filled with the aroma of grilled burgers and sweet corn. She could feel the warmth of the evening settling in, wrapping around her like a cherished blanket. David stood nearby, watching Lily twirl with unrestrained joy, and for a brief moment, it felt like they were a family again, just as they once had been. "Let us do it," Lily exclaimed, her eyes sparkling as she clutched Ruth's hand. "Sing, please." Ruth's heart raced. Was she really considering it? The thought stirred a mix of longing and fear within her. They had sung that song together so many times before, each note a thread weaving their past into the fabric of their lives. But could she handle the weight of those memories in front of David, the man she once loved? "Okay," she said finally, her voice steadying. "Let us see how it goes." As they gathered in a semicircle, David's presence beside her felt both comforting and intimidating. She could hear the whispers of their shared past echoing softly, reminding her of laughter-filled evenings and stolen glances. Ruth squeezed Lily's hand, taking strength from the child's innocence and delight. Lily began to sing, her voice high and clear, undeniably joyful. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." Ruth joined in, her voice shaky at first but slowly finding its rhythm. It was when David harmonized with them that the world around them blurred into insignificance. The three of them creating music together felt like a miracle, a beautiful reminder of how quickly life could change and how moments could still bloom among the thorns. As they sang, Ruth felt walls beginning to crumble. With every note, old wounds ached, but also healed words once unspoken began to unlock emotions deeply buried. She caught David's eye and held his gaze for a moment longer than she intended, memories rushing back, weaving through her heart. When the song ended, the air around them buzzed with the joyous applause of family and friends, laughter ringing out in delightful chaos. "One more time," Lily shouted, beaming brightly, her cheeks flushed with excitement. Ruth chuckled, her worries momentarily forgotten. "All right, but only if you lead, superstar." Just as Lily began the song again, Ruth caught a glimpse of David, his face illuminated in the fading light. There was something vulnerable and open in his expression. An invitation perhaps, or maybe an understanding of the journey they had both navigated without each other. A silent acknowledgement passed between them, but it wasn't just nostalgia. It held a spark of something more, something she struggled to identify. "The second round of You Are My Sunshine" echoed in the crisp evening air. Ruth felt a shift in her heart. She was beginning to realize how easy it was to let love in again. Wasn't that what life was about? Embracing the moments, even when they brought uncertainty. Once the final note faded, something caught Ruth's attention, a flicker of movement in the corner of her eye. She turned to see a neighbor's child tugging at David's sleeve, pointing wildly towards a fluttering object in the sky. Suddenly, that simple curiosity became the catalyst for a change. Lily and the neighborhood kids raced after the kite that had unceremoniously escaped its owner. Laughter erupted as they dashed into the yard, leaving Ruth and David for just a moment. Yet within that moment, something was stirring. "What do you think?" David asked, his voice low, almost tentative now that they were alone again. "About Lily? About us?" Ruth struggled to find the words, each syllable fighting to escape, surging against a wave of possibilities she hadn't allowed herself to dream of before. Her heart beat faster, a new rhythm beginning inside her. As she started but then hesitated. But before she could finish, Lily's laughter rang out like bells, and with it came the overwhelming feeling of hope, a promise that maybe, just maybe, everything was about to change. As the evening light flickered between shadows and laughter, Ruth felt her life shifting on an axis, tipping towards something unknown yet beckoning. Would she step forward, bridging the gap that time had created, or retreat back into the safety of solitude? And in that moment of uncertainty, the question lingered heavy in the air, poised to change everything. What lies ahead for them as they navigate the delicate balance of the past and an unfolding future? David's voice broke through Ruth's thoughts, heavy with emotion she was learning to recognize. "I think we both know what we want, don't we?" Her breath caught as his words hung in the air. Want. It was such a simple word, yet so loaded with meaning, so hopeful and frightening at once. Ruth's eyes drifted toward Lily, her heart swelling with a love that both anchored and terrified her. Could they really find a way back to what they once had? "What are you thinking?" David asked, looking into her eyes with the kind of intensity that made her feel vulnerable yet safe. "I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't want to mess this up again." Memories flooded back unbidden, the arguments, the silences, the distance that had grown between them like a chasm. "You won't mess it up, not this time," he said, reaching out to tuck a loose strand of hair behind her ear. The brush of his fingers sent a shiver down her spine, reminding her of nights spent tangled together on the couch, and moments when laughter came easily. Lily's laughter buzzed like bees around them, puncturing the bubble of seriousness that threatened to close in. She was dancing with the other kids now, her face bright and carefree, her smile seemingly able to heal every wound. A pang of guilt twisted in Ruth's stomach. Here was their daughter, full of life, unaware of the weight that hung over her parents. "Look," Lily interrupted their moment, waving a hand in their direction as if to pull them back into the joy surrounding them. "I caught the kite." Ruth turned just in time to see Lily holding the colorful fabric triumphantly, the wind tugging at it like a wild creature. The infectious delight on her daughter's face ignited something within Ruth, an ember of hope, a spark of possibility. "Lily, you're amazing," Ruth shouted, her voice breaking through the crowd. Lily beamed with pride, her curls bouncing as she ran toward them. "Did you see? It almost flew away, but I saved it," she exclaimed, her little chest puffed out with accomplishment. David smiled, a genuine smile that only added warmth to the encroaching evening chill. "You really did, superstar. We're lucky to have you." The air around them was electric, and in that moment, Ruth felt as though time had wrapped itself around them, a bubble of laughter and love reinforced by Lily's unyielding spirit. Yet, the fleeting joy brought with it a realization. What if they couldn't keep this? What if they stumbled under the weight of adulthood, the hard truths they often swept under the rug? The beauty of that evening began to fray at the edges, fear creeping back in. "Do you really think we can do this?" she asked David, her voice low but steady. His gaze never faltered as he searched her eyes. "We have to try. For us and for her." He nodded toward Lily, who was now spinning around a group of excited friends, the kite pulling her tiny frame along in a dance with the wind. Ruth watched their daughter, realizing that the decisions they made today would ripple into Lily's future. But what if it doesn't work? David stepped closer, his tone smoothing the edges of her worries. "Then we adapt. We learn. We owe it to ourselves to try again. Don't you want this?" A soft resolve settled within her chest. She wanted to fight for this chance, to chase forward rather than retreat. She nodded, her breath catching as she envisaged all the moments they could weave together. As dusk settled around them, a deep stillness fell, and Ruth felt the weight of decision resting on her shoulders. With every heartbeat, clarity blossomed. But before she could share her thoughts, Lily raced back to them, eyes sparkling with adventure. "Come on. Let us fly the kite together." They exchanged glances, a flicker of understanding igniting as they nodded in unison. Ruth took a deep breath and followed their daughter into the embrace of the night. Maybe this was their moment to soar. Yet, even as the kite sliced through the twilight, Ruth felt another tsunami of questions rising inside her. Could they really navigate the tricky winds of love? What if soaring too high meant crashing down just as hard? As the laughter wrapped around her, the uncertain possibilities seemed to linger in the air, tantalizing yet daunting, leaving her to wonder, was this the beginning of something beautiful, or merely another test of endurance? The kite danced higher, pulling Ruth into the cheerful chaos that surrounded them. The night was fading into soft shades of purple and blue, the sun slipping away in a gentle sigh. As laughter danced around them, Ruth felt a warmth building in her chest, a warmth she had long forgotten. "Look how high it is, Mommy," Lily shouted, her hands outstretched to the sky as if she could feel the kite soaring. The innocence in her voice cut through Ruth's lingering doubts, reminding her of the joy that once felt so simple. It was here in these moments with Lily that the past began to blur. David stood close, his eyes flickering with something Ruth had missed, a shared excitement, a hopeful glimmer, as if he was pulling from the same energy that surrounded their little girl. Ruth wondered if he felt it too, that sense of possibility that mingled with the night air. "Do you remember our first kite?" David asked, a teasing smile on his face. "You almost crashed us into the neighbor's house." Ruth chuckled, the warmth spreading further. "Oh, I do remember. You said I needed lessons. I just wanted to make it fly, not land gracefully. Still true, isn't it?" He grinned, the tension between them finally easing, replaced by playful banter, a bridge across the chasm they had built. As the laughter flowed, Ruth couldn't help but think of the hurdles that lay ahead. Would they be able to navigate the tricky winds that had threatened to tear them apart before? The honesty between them in that moment felt fragile, like the kite's strings stretched taut above. "Mommy, fly with me," Lily's voice echoed through the air, pulling Ruth from the depths of thought. With a nod from David, she raced toward her daughter, joining in the playful dance that swirled around the field. They tugged the kite together, and Ruth felt the thrill of the chase, the rush of the wind in her hair as they collaborated to launch it higher. For a moment the stresses faded, and they were just a family together. Then, out of nowhere, the string tugged harder than before, and Ruth stumbled slightly. Lily squealed in delight, not noticing the jolt. David was right beside her, eyes wide, full of concern. Careful, he said, steadying Ruth with a gentle hand. Sorry, she breathed, caught off guard by the jolt in her own heart. The connection between them, the shared responsibility for their daughter, made everything feel heightened. We'll make it work, he said, his voice steady, a promise forming in the night. Whatever it takes. Ruth locked her gaze with David's, feeling the weight of his words. They had to remember that they were a team, bound by the responsibility of their beautiful little girl and the love that had sparked their connection in the first place. As the night deepened, the air thick with the whispers of distant stars, Ruth found herself looking back toward Lily. She was spinning and laughing, her small figure a silhouette against the glowing backdrop of their shared happiness. In that moment, the realization washed over her. Ruth wanted this for herself, for David, and most importantly for Lily. They owed it to her to make it right. But what if their attempts to push forward would send them spiraling back into old habits? As she pulled the string taut, feeling the steady vibrations of their collective hopes, Ruth caught a glimpse of the future ahead. The possibilities felt boundless yet daunting. Choices loomed large, her heart racing with both excitement and fear. Let us promise to keep trying no matter what, Ruth said softly, her voice almost lost in the laughter around them. Absolutely. David nodded, the determination in his eyes grounding her. Yet couldn't promises dissolve under pressure? Did their feelings hold enough weight to last? As the kite dipped gracefully in the air, so many unanswered questions lingered, each one a reminder that the true challenge had just begun. What if the next choice they made changed everything? Was it too late to redefine their future together? The barbecue thrummed with laughter and the camaraderie of old friends. But for Ruth, the warmth came not just from the food, but from the gathering of hearts around her. With every moment, she and David edged closer to the possibility of rebuilding what was lost, but doubts lingered like shadows. Could this be real? Could joy fill the empty spaces? As Lily darted across the grass, twirling with her new friends, Ruth felt a surge of affection. The innocence of childhood wrapped around her like a protective cloak. Wasn't that what they were striving for? Creating a world for Lily that was alive, colorful, and full of love. David's laughter echoed nearby, a sound she had missed more than she realized. On instinct, her heart pulsed in rhythm with the joy around her, but a knot of uncertainty remained. Would tomorrow turn out like today? Look, Grandma! Lily's voice broke through Ruth's reverie, a whirl of energy as she clutched a finger-painted kite they had finished earlier. Will you help me fly it? In that moment, everything else faded. The fears, the doubts, they slipped to the edges of her mind, replaced by the wide eyes of her granddaughter. Ruth knelt beside Lily, catching the spark of excitement igniting the air between them. Absolutely. Let us make it soar. Together they rushed into the yard, and Lily giggled as she handed Ruth the string. That familiar whirl of childhood joy enveloped them both as they lifted the kite against the gentle wind. It danced gracefully up into the fading twilight, soaring higher and higher. And at that moment, a moment filled with laughter, connection, and warmth, Ruth realized something profound. This was it. This was her purpose, to nurture Lily's spirit while giving herself the chance to heal. David emerged beside them, his presence calming. Nice teamwork, ladies. He chuckled, and as he took a step closer, their hands brushed together over the kite string. That small touch sent a ripple of familiarity surging through her heart. Do you want to try? Ruth asked, resisting the urge to withdraw from the warmth inviting him in. Just don't fly it into a tree, he teased. But she caught a glimpse of the vulnerability beneath his smile. Only if you can promise to catch me if I fall, she replied lightly, but her heart beat with a new rhythm, full of hope. He stepped forward, their hearts in sync as they elevated the kite together. That kite is our future, she declared, looking at Lily and then at David, ready to face whatever flew their way as they guided the kite higher. It began to dip, the movement mirroring their lives, a dance of ups and downs. Whoa! Hold steady! David laughed, and with his expert hand, they managed to balance its flight. Ruth's heart raced as she shared a smile with him that felt like a bridge across unresolved distances. See, David encouraged, just like us. We will find a way. Ruth took a breath, feeling the weight of realization settle in. Yes, together they could navigate the currents of the past. Just as they were balancing the kite now, shifting and listening, they had a chance to build something new, to find joy amidst old scars. As twilight fell deeper into night, Laughter painted the dusk with warmth. For each giggle from Lily, another piece of Ruth's heart filled with hope. These memories would guide them forward, one kite string at a time. When the evening finally quieted, with neighbors bidding good night and the stars twinkling like tiny blessings above, Ruth looked at David, and a wordless understanding passed between them. The air hung thick with possibilities. "Let us make this our new beginning," he whispered, and Ruth felt a pulse of determination ignite within her. "I'd like that," she replied, a smile blossoming. The shadows began to recede, as fresh light streamed down from the heavens above, illuminating their paths ahead. With newfound courage, Ruth took David's hand. Together they stepped into the future, ready to chase dreams again, not just for themselves, but for the vibrant, joyful heart of their family. Lily was a beacon of hope, guiding them through the darkness into a world waiting to celebrate their beautiful, messy, and shared journey. This was only the beginning, and oh, how radiant it would be. Now it's time for you to be part of the story. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will tug at your heartstrings. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread the joy. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending because your voice matters. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Your support is crucial. Only true fans understand the importance of uplifting our community.